So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, I'm very excited. This man's work I followed over many years. I even got a chance to meet him in person quite a few years ago. Well, about 4 years ago in Milton Keynes at a convention. And he was probably one of the nicest men I've ever met. It's, of course, William Sadler. William, welcome to the show. Can I call you Bill?
Yes, of course.
Excellent, excellent. How are you? How is everything at the moment where you are? I mean, whereabouts are you at the moment?
I live about 70 miles north of New York City, up in the Hudson River Valley, near Poughkeepsie, New York, Millbrook area.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I mean, the weather is changing. It's getting cold. We just had a great election.
Do you know what? If they don't,
I don't want to get into politics, but
I tell you what, for the entertainment value, over in the UK, it's madness. But the world is madness at the moment. It really is.
They must just laugh at us. You guys must just like shake your heads and say, oh my goodness.
We have got our own problems as well. So with our government.
Indeed.
But
we're doing okay. I mean,
good.
Everybody's staying safe and healthy, and
good. I'm glad to hear. So let's talk a bit about you, Bill. A bit about how you started, and then I want to talk about a few projects you've been involved with, which are my two favorite of all time. So you're born in Buffalo, New York. Is that correct? Please correct me if I'm wrong, because you know my research, you never know what's going to pop up. And when you were growing up, you had a nickname, Banjo Bill Sadler. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's absolutely.
And I presume that involves a banjo.
Because I played the banjo and I did stand up for a while in high school, and I played the banjo and told jokes, these terrible, corny, awful jokes. But it went over big. It was great. I was, it was a hit at the high school variety show, and I did Christmas parties and fire hall Christmases, and then I discovered acting. I mean, that was, as soon as I discovered acting, it was like the writing got so much better, and the doors just started to open that. It was clear that was the better direction than stand-up.
Yeah, because I was going to say, we've seen you in countless movies and TV shows, too many to mention. And, we could be here for hours upon hours. But, yeah, why acting, though? Why that profession? Was it the fact that you wanted to be an entertainer? Is that what was, going through your veins?
I don't know. I was in a garage band. I was in a folk band. I was doing stand-up. I guess I was trying to get on stage. But I also spent my whole childhood I grew up on a farm outside of Buffalo in a town called Orchard Park. And a tremendous portion of my childhood was spent making up these stories and acting out scenarios with my friends, or, dive out of the hayloft with our BB guns and come up shooting and get captured by the Germans and then escape. And then, it was like, but these things went on forever and ever, or they went on all day until Mom called us in for lunch. It's funny. I sometimes feel like I've been rehearsing for this career since I was about 10. In fact, in Die Hard 2, there's a moment when Colonel Stuart and his guys are around the nose of a plane, and Bruce Willis is in the plane, and we all empty our automatic weapons at the plane, then throw grenades, and he escapes by zooming up through the roof. And after the first take, the sound man, Tim Cooney, came over to me and said, he just took me aside and he said, "Bill, you don't have to make that sound with your mouth anymore." Because I was going, I was still 10 years old, running around the barn. It's old habits die hard. But
Die Hard,
but
yeah, yeah. That's a good.
but that's what I mean. I sort of feel like I spent a huge part of my childhood practicing to do this thing. So when the opportunity, you know, when I found the theater, when I started to find these plays, and the writing was so extraordinary. I mean, the Chekhovs and the second play I ever did was called The Subject Was Roses, was a Pulitzer Prize winning drama
Mm.
that launched Martin Sheen's career. And I just was like, I was blown away. I was just gobsmacked. Um, and that, you know, that I felt like I was finally doing what I was supposed to be doing, you know.
Wow. And look at you now. So as you was you know, making your way through Hollywood, making your way across all these stages, what was the most challenging for you at making it? You know, what challenges did you face?
I think one of the toughest things that I did theater for the first maybe 11 years or so of my career. It was all in New York, off Broadway and off Broadway, and a year and a half on Broadway, and regional theaters all over the place. New York Shakespeare Festival in New York. I worked there again and again. The biggest hurdle wasn't once I arrived in New York, I started working, and it's a small community, you know. What was difficult was making the leap to Los Angeles, because they, you know, I didn't have any film on myself. I had done, you know, I had all this chops and this experience, and was kind of a seasoned actor already.
Mm.
But I hadn't worked in front of a camera, and making that transition, I think, was the most difficult, because you know, it doesn't mean anything in LA that you were on Broadway, or you studied acting at, you know, wherever you studied acting. They just don't care. It's like, well, let me see your reel, you know.
And what was
Um,
LA like when you got there for the first time? Because many say the streets are paved with gold, but what was LA really like back then?
I was driving a really beat up, overheating Ford Galaxy 500, and I actually got to LA by doing a season of plays at the La Jolla Playhouse, which is down the coast. And every Monday on my day off, I would drive up to Los Angeles and knock on doors and try to, you know, try to get agents interested in coming down and seeing the show, or, you know, it was, LA was, I don't know, LA was frightening. It felt like another planet. It really,
Mm.
you know, like my wife said, there are 5 good bookstores and 10,000 places to get your nails done. She's a New Yorker. She was not interested in moving to LA. And finally, out of this, the last Broadway show that I did in New York with Matthew Broderick, the next movie that he did was Project X, and they cast me as the bad guy in Project X.
Yeah.
And it sort of, you know,
Grew
then,
from there.
well, then I had something agents could talk about. And we, you know, went on from there.
So when we're talking about obviously getting parts, and you know, how do you choose your roles? Uh, you know, has it changed from when you started your career to now?
These days, things generally get offered to me. I still audition from time to time. Um, I think that's just a comfort thing for the directors, you know, because there are very few people that don't know who I am or what I've, you know, what I look like, what I've done. Um, how do you choose the roles? I get excited about the writing. Um, it's funny, you can, um, if the writing is good, if the writing is truthful about us humans, then things just automatic. As I read it, emotions start to pop up by themselves. And it requires no cooking at all. You know, it's just, you don't have to fake anything. The words carry the import and the emotion, as opposed to bad writing, where you have to work your ass off to make it look like good writing, um, which also happens. I don't know. Some of them, you know, some jobs you do for money, and some you do for love, and some you do for, you know, because you've always wanted to work with this director, or, you know, it sounds like. I just did one called VFW. It was
Awesome movie. Awesome
Thank you.
movie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was done for $1.98. We shot it in 18 days. But what was really fun about it was that group of actors that, you know, to get that group of guys together and put them in the Alamo fighting for their lives was just it was too fun to turn down. It was really, it was just a gas. And you know,
and you know what? You were amazing in that movie. But can I just say, if anyone injures themselves, you shouldn't give first aid, because there was a scene with gaffer tape that you, or duct tape, as you would say,
really,
and you was wrapping it round. And I was thinking, my word. But yeah, what a cast! I mean, so many recognizable faces, and
right,
it was
right.
just it just looked so much fun to film. And it was
That's
great.
that's what it was. We were, it was funny. They had the cast chairs were in the room next to that bar, and we would sit in a circle, and the stories we just tell war stories, and they would go around and around and around. And we'd all worked with each other. I'd worked with Marty Cove before on some Martian TV show, and I worked with Steve Lang a couple of times, Shakespeare in the Park, and he was in Project X with me. I did a musical, an off-Broadway musical with David Patrick Kelly. So it was so when we were playing guys that had known each other for decades and decades. So there was this sort of natural love and respect, and it made it easy. I think it makes the audience care about you. You know, you care about these guys as they're getting killed off. You're like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah. Especially
I hope
yours.
they don't get him. What?
Yeah, especially you, because but do you know what, that you went out, you know, a hero. You really did. And what they did to you, I don't want to ruin it for anyone that wants to watch it, but it looked awesome. It really did.
Effect.
And yeah, real
Practical
hero.
effects.
Yeah.
It was very old school in that way.
Yeah,
You know, there's
it had
real
that
blood.
feel.
You know, real. Yeah, there were practical effects. Everything was. I don't think anything was done with the computer. You know.
Yeah.
If we spattered the wall, we spattered the wall. You know?
And yeah, you definitely splattered the wall. There's a lot of blood in that movie, but it's fantastic. But let's talk about one of your most recent projects, which anyone my age, I think, got excited about when it got announced, which was Bill and Ted. Which you know, for me, being younger and watching the two other movies, and then finding out that Bill and Ted Face the Music was being made, and then we find out that you make a return in it as Death, and you come back. How was it 30 years later to redon that costume and that makeup.
I was really surprised at how quickly the character just came back. It was as if I've had him bottled up for 30 years and I pulled the cork out and the Grim Reaper just spewed all over the set. I couldn't shut him up. He's ad-libbing left and right. The makeup and the makeup is, you know, it's not, I don't know if you've ever sat through 3 hours of makeup, but it's not, you know, that's not fun. And the robes felt a lot heavier this time around. I think I was 40 when we shot it the first time, and but you know, but that aside, it was just the most fun you can have with your clothes on, to get back on the set with Alex and Keanu and in that character and visit that world again.
Yeah,
was just it was great. It was really really fun, and I've loved hearing the response. You know, people.
yeah.
It seems like a really great, and you know, it's sort of, if you look at the three movies as a group,
Trilogy, yeah.
it has a nice rounded end now. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how much of that character did you? I mean, was the way that you played Death, you know, your decision, or did they ask you to play it that way? How much input did you have on, you know, how he was?
I think I brought the accent. They didn't want me to do an accent in the first one, and actually, when I was auditioning for the first one, they said maybe you shouldn't. I told them I auditioned for it. And I did the Czechoslovakian accent was like that, and it was funny, and I did the accent because it was funny, because it was silly to hear someone struggling with grammar, and you know, he could read the phone book and you'd be giggling. And so I guess I brought some of that. The original Bogus Journey script, he challenged. It's designed so that he's dangerous and scary when you first meet him. I mean, he's death, and they've been murdered, and you know, he's supposed to be frightening. And then when they start playing the games, and he's losing and losing and losing, he starts falling apart. And that's all in the script, that he becomes this petulant, you know, best 3 out of 5, and you know, you must play me again, and so on. So it's hard to know what I brought to it and what was on the page. The Reaper rap I wrote, that little you might be a king or a little street sweeper, but sooner or later you dance with the Reaper. That they had a rap in there, but I couldn't make sense of it. So I asked them if I could write something, and that's what I wrote.
That is awesome.
But yeah, it was really lovely to be a part of the creative process as well. You know, in Bogus Journey, for example, when I say I couldn't turn him off, once I got into this guy's character, it was hard to turn him off. We were shooting at night in a hardware store, putting together the good robots, and I said to the director, Pete Hewitt, I said, wouldn't it be great if there was some guy standing there smoking in the store, and the Reaper walks by him and says, "See you real soon," and the guy goes and puts it out. He thought it was great. We didn't have an actor to play it, so he said, "Just bring the camera over." That's Pete Hewitt, the smoker.
Awesome.
That's the director. He just said, "Bring the camera over here," and we shot it, and it took two minutes, you know. but it was a really fun collaboration. It was, you know, anyway. So I had a ball, and I was very happy to be part of the third one.
And going from a great character, a happy character that's brought plenty of smiles, to Colonel Stuart, who I've got to say is probably one of the best villains our screen has seen. So Die Hard 2, which actually grossed nearly double what the original did, which I think's awesome. Which
Is
obviously
that right?
shows, yeah. So my information, it outgrossed the original by nearly double, um,
Oh,
which is good for you because you were the villain in it.
it was great.
But apparently you auditioned again. I don't know if this is correct, but you auditioned and they told you was too young, and then you went away and re-auditioned. Is that correct?
That was the Bill and Ted audition. I went in and
Oh,
a Bogus Journey audition. I did the audition with the accent and all, and then about 3 weeks later, they called me and said, you have to come and go to a Halloween store and put some gray in your hair, and
ah.
because they think you're too young. Um, and I
So
and
so that is definitely not Die Hard 2.
no Die Hard, no Die Hard 2. The I auditioned. I read with Bruce um, and Rennie Harlan and Joel Silver. The four of us were in the room, and I guess I guess I was scary enough. Um, I have to say, following um, um, his name is escaping me now. The first villain,
Rick,
Alan Rickman.
yeah, Alan Rickman.
That was daunting because I loved the first movie. I thought the first Die Hard was killer. It just
Yeah.
rocked me. And he especially was so smarmy and fun and evil. Mother, just what a tasty villain he played. And then to to be you have to now be the villain in the first sequel, um so I felt a certain amount of pressure because Alan Rickman was just brilliant. Just I And they had written a completely different character for Colonel Stuart. He's just ice cold. um Whatever humor he's got is just diabolical.
But do you know what?
And
What a way to introduce a character, though, because apparently it was Rennie Harlan's idea to have Colonel Stewart doing the old Tai Chi
yeah,
naked at the beginning. And
that
how did you feel about that, doing that scene?
well, that was terrifying. I don't know if you've ever been naked in a summer blockbuster, but
No.
this is, a lot of people are going to see this damn thing, and I didn't want to. I found out about it at the costume fitting. I mean, that's actually the way that it happened. He's not naked in the script that I said yes to. I got to the costume fitting, and we tried on everything. And the director was there, Rennie Harlan, and we got finished. And I said, "What's he wearing for the hotel room scene?" Because they had nothing. And Rennie said, "Well, Bill, actually, I was thinking you would be nude." And I was like, I thought about it for a minute, and then I said, "All right, you push that scene off to the end of the movie, and get me a trainer and get me in the gym, and I'll see what I can do for you." So that's what they did, and I spent the next. I think they pushed it off for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, something like that. That's all the time I had to go from costume fitting to we're shooting the Tai Chi scene today. Um, And I just, you know, I just didn't want to. I knew it was going to be seen by everybody in the world, and I just didn't want to watch it when I was 60 and think, geez, I wish I'd done a couple sit-ups, you know. Look at that flabby butt.
No, it's an awesome scene. Do you know what? I've just got an image of you going into costume, and it being an empty clothes
There's no,
hanger with
there's
just like
nothing.
a tag on it, just saying
Ah,
"scene whatever."
excuse me.
That is
Exactly.
so you trained a lot in karate and tai chi, did you, for the part? Because obviously
Yes.
it's very physical.
Yeah, yeah. They put me into a training regime with Benny the Jet, Benny Akitas, who was the kickboxing champion of the world at the time. And it was great. You know, it was great. It was in the best shape of my life, I guess. But it was, and it's also, I think, a, a, it's kind of a terrifying way to introduce a character, it's shocking. First of all, you're not expecting to see a naked, you know, it's just Bruce Willis and it's Christmas and yada yada, and all of a sudden there's this man
Mhm.
fighting with invisible people in a hotel room, um, and with this intensity, and it's a kind of a. It seemed to me like a great way to introduce this character because you don't know what he's up to. You
Mm.
know, you don't know who he is yet, but holy crap, you don't want to mess with this dude. You know, this cannot be good.
No, no, no.
this
And
this is not going to end well.
and what was your favorite scene to film in Die
Oh,
Hard 2?
in that one, what was my favorite scene? The oh god, I love the scene on the wing, fighting on the wing of the plane.
Yeah.
I thought I had a that was just a ball because you know they had built half of a plane in a hangar at the sound stage at Fox, and they had snow machines going and these huge fans blowing. So it looked like we were outdoors, and they had rear screen projections down below us. So when you know somebody's hanging off the edge of the plane, you can see the ground racing underneath them,
Oh
right?
wow.
But it was just rear screen projections. The plane's not moving and the ground's not moving. Um, but it was just fantastic. Come on, I was back in the barn. You know, I was 10 years old again. Um, Look out behind you.
It's
You know,
awesome. Do you know, I'm so jealous. I'd love to be able to do stuff like that. But you've played so many roles in your career. Which role stands out for you the most? You know, the most memorable.
I thought it's funny. They're like your children, you know.
Mm.
But I do like some of them more than others. I had great fun playing Haywood in the Shawshank Redemption. Um, he's I think largely because it was such a good script.
Mm.
The writing was so good, and the cast again. There was this ensemble of actors. Uh, I remember sitting at the dining hall table. You know, the dining hall scenes
Yeah.
where I win all the cigarettes, or you know. Anyway, but everywhere you looked, you know, there's James Whitmore over there and Morgan Freeman right across from you, and Tim's down there. But it was like everybody brought their A game, you know.
Yeah.
You were
And and and
you
do you
were
know what?
you
It's
were
really strange that that film didn't do that well in the cinema, but yet it's had such a cult following, and you know
you know,
it's regarded as one of the best films of the 20th century.
which is amazing, and it's funny because people were saying when it first came out, people told me, you know, oh, it's great. It's a classic. It's a classic. And I thought, yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic. Let's watch it 10 years from now. Let's see if it's still a classic, you know. And sure enough, it just kept growing and growing in stature. Um, an amazing thing. Frank himself, the director, Frank Darabont, we've talked about it since then. He talks about Shawshank as catching lightning in a bottle.
Mm.
That there was, you know, that cast, those words, this, you know, this moment, there were so many things that could have gone other ways, but didn't. You know, Tom Cruise was interested in playing the Tim Robbins role. There were lots of things that could have happened that would have made it a different movie.
Yeah. But no, it's
So,
perfect in the way it is. It's just fantastic cast, and as you said, very good, you know, extremely good writing, and it made it what it was. So who do you get recognised, like role wise, the most for? You know, because you've been in loads of stuff, absolutely tons.
it's funny. I get recognized for. I did a series called Power that I don't know if it aired in England at all, but anything you do on television gets you recognized right away. You can do theater your whole life and be completely anonymous. You can do movies, and unless you're the star, unless your face is in close up forever, you know, in movie after movie, it's hard because you see the movie, you know, in the old days anyway, you'd see the movie in the theaters, and then, you know, 2 years later, you'd see the guy in another movie.
Mm.
But when I did Roswell, the series Roswell, and all of a sudden it's like you're in everybody's living room every week. And television is all about close-ups. It's all, you know, your face is right there in their kitchen or their bedroom or their living room. And they feel like they know you. So I guess I get recognized for Roswell. I get recognized for the Star Trek people. I did
Deep
three
Space Nine.
three episodes of Deep Space, three episodes of Deep Space Nine, and people still stop me on the street. No.
Yeah, you don't mess with Star Trek fans. They're crazy.
Director Sloan,
in a good way.
section. I was just blown away. I did a Star Trek convention in Las Vegas once, and there were people came up to me dressed in my costume from, you know, cosplayers, I guess.
Yeah.
There were whole organizations built around Section 31, and the it's like, really? I sort of dove in and did it and then stepped away, and I was very happy to do it. I've always loved the Star Trek world. But they're astonishing. I'm always amazed by the amount of detail that the Trek fans hold in their heads. It's like I just get lost. I don't even do interviews with people that just want to talk about Star Trek because, you know, well, were you aware that the Romulans and the Klingons had an agreement before this thing?
You don't know.
I can't remember the names of the shows I did, you know.
Bless you. So that's quite good that you was mentioning conventions, because that's what I wanted to talk to you next about. Because do you enjoy doing conventions? Do you enjoy going to meet the fans in person?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's well, it's great to hear, because when you do movies or you do television, you shoot it and it's very intense, and then it gets thrown out into the world, and you never see how it lands. You don't see how people in Ohio are watching the movie. What do they think about it? You know, it isn't like the theater in that way. So it's great when if you do one of these fan conventions and people get a chance to come up to you and say, you know, I loved you in this, and my father and I, before he passed, we watched Shawshank once a week, and it's like, you don't know how big a
Yeah.
part you've played in people's lives until they get a chance to come and tell you.
Mm. I
And
mean,
that's
you.
very,
I
very
mean,
gratifying.
you've been in so many hits, you really have, and massive movies, but yet you came across quite humble. So I came to the convention with my daughter Lois, and she was only 4 at the time, and I can
Did I
remember
yell at?
you. No, you was really, you know what, you was really cute with her. You really were. You gave her a cuddle, and she loved it. And I remember. This is the picture. Oh, I've just knocked it. The the picture that you signed for me. Peace, love,
Oh,
and
nice.
movies.
Cool, cool,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and I've got to say it was a fantastic encounter. Um, have you got any virtual Comic Cons planned, or are you not interested
No,
in those sort of?
not at the moment. No, not at the moment.
No.
I don't. I'm I'm available. I, I'm sit, I sit here in my farmhouse in upstate New York and wonder when this pandemic is going to, when will
do,
there be a vaccine?
do you know what? I forgot to mention that Lois, my daughter, she's 7 now, and
Ah,
we was watching Iron Man, 3, and you came on the screen, and she recognized you from when she was
whoa!
4 years old. She was like, I
Serious?
I've met him, and I was like, how do you know that?
Whoa! Are you
And
kidding
it
me?
just blew my mind because
Lois.
yeah, Lois, she's absolutely adorable. I've got another daughter now, since then, called Cara. She's 3, but no more, no more. So before we wrap up this lovely interview, what is next for you? What are you working on next, or is it a case of you're just putting your feet up and relaxing and enjoying life?
Right? Well, right now, I don't actually have anything in the offing at the moment, um, which is okay. I just finished a film that I started back in March called Shrine for Screen Gems, and it's kind of a horror thing, and I play a priest, um, and I guess it's like an exorcist thing.
Oh wow.
There are demons and people get killed, and it's shit happens.
And
It's
when
good.
is
I don't want to give
and
it
when
away.
is that due out? Do you know?
I
Is it
don't.
next
I
year?
don't know. We had to stop shooting because of COVID, and then we
Right.
started up again, um, and we just finished like a month ago. So I'm guessing it'll be out sometime in the summer, maybe,
Yeah.
um, or it'll stream somewhere. I'm not sure what they'll do with it,
So Shrine.
but
Keep an
that
eye
should
out
be
for that.
good. Shrine.
Mm.
I'm doing. I sort of picked up my singing songwriting thing again. I've always done it. I've just always kept it in my back pocket. And I started doing this YouTube channel called The Kitchen Tapes, where I sit in my kitchen and I play the guitar and sing songs and tell stories about, you know, working on this movie or that movie.
Oh wow.
Um, so it's just something to do. Um, and that's fun. I've really been enjoying working on the music and it all has to be done virtually now. You know,
Mm.
I've been playing and singing my whole life, um, with other people, and now all of a sudden you have to record it and send it to someone else who puts the bass on, who sends it to someone else who adds piano, and but anyways, so that's sort of occupying me at the moment.
That is awesome. Definitely check that out. So kitchen tables, did you say? Kitchen
The
tapes.
kitchen tapes.
Kitchen
William
tapes.
William Sadler, the kitchen tapes. This is like it's like Bob Dylan, the basement tapes. these are the kitchen tapes.
And are
They're
you
not,
playing the
not as good.
and are you playing the banjo at all in any of them?
No, I haven't played the banjo in any of these tapes yet, but I'm pretty sure I will. Have you ever seen there's a cartoon, Far Side cartoon, I think, where the devil is leading someone into a room that's filled with banjo players.
Right.
And the devil says to this guy, says, "Right this way, maestro." It's like, that's going to be your hell, is to spend eternity in a room full of banjos.
Oh, I like the sound of banjos. I think
No,
it's a
I
fun
do.
sound.
I do too. It's I play the guitar better than I play the banjo now. That's
Awesome.
coming along. That's coming along really well, and the songwriting is fun. I know it sounds. It always sounds hokey to me when I hear actors, putting out albums. I think of William Shatner, and it isn't like, I promise it isn't like that. These are.
So once this COVID's over, could we be expecting maybe a tour, maybe a evening with?
Maybe that would be
Wow,
great.
that would be
That'd
awesome.
be lovely. I was sort of doing an evening with. There's a place called the Town Crier in Beacon, New York, and I was doing, an evening of my songs with a live audience, but you can't do that anymore. But yeah, once there's a vaccine, once we're safe to get together again, that'd be lovely.
That would be awesome. And Bill, one last question before we wrap this up.
What?
Yes, only one last. This question divides many, and it divides me and all my friends. Die Hard 1 and 2, would
Yeah.
you class that as a Christmas movie?
I've always thought that was pretty ironic that Christmas is a time of, joy and happiness and what have you, and gingerbread. I've never really associated it with automatic weapons and crashing planes, but it is apparent they are apparently Christmas movies now. They're official. You there you go.
There
You
you
can't have
go, straight from
you
Bill's
can't
mouth, the
you,
Christmas
you,
movies.
you can't have Christmas without the Die Hard. The Die
Exactly.
Hard. You know.
When the weather
Yeah,
outside is frightful, when that plays at the end, for me, that's
I know. I know. And
that
there's
is awesome.
Bill's naked butt.
Bless you.
Uh,
Right, Bill, thank you so much for the opportunity to have a chat with you. It was a pleasure. And I hope you all the best. And I suppose in these times we're in at the moment, it's time for us to get creative and be kind to everyone else around us, because obviously, it's not a nice place to be. But I hope this interview has brought a smile to many people's faces and to their ears. So
I hope so.
thank you.
This is a great time to be excellent to each other.
Exactly. Be more super. That's what it's
We
all
will get
about.
we will get through this. We got to
Okay.
hang together.
Exactly. Thank you.